Good day, good night. CFR Network, CFR News. As requested, let's get into this Lil Nas X. Satan shoes? Sure, but Lil Nas X is not leading American kids into devil worship, or could he? That is the question. An unauthorized reproduction and jazzing up of a Nike sneaker with Luke 10:18 and allegedly a drop of human blood in the sole is being slanged. Pure controversy, pure folly. The video is even is demonic as hell. This youth's got on some wild stuff. I got the sibling Tarnoon with me, man. What's happening, sibling?
True peace, true peace. Glad to be here. Yeah, the articles started off lying. Like, I mean, they play games with it, how they've done that. Like I said, is he lead them into devil worship? I mean, if we're going to be literal, that wouldn't be considered devil worshiping, meaning, a person is there actually in some type of prostration and worshiping the devil. What he's doing is he's doing a ritualistic enactment.
Yes.
Or a cult. Well, it's all the same, really. Just an occult is just a more secret form of religious worship. It still falls under religion. It's just a cult, meaning hidden.
Hidden, exactly.
So that's what he's doing. If you listen to the lyrics, they all tell you that they sold their soul. Like when he gets down to the video, the part where he's in chains, it's like he's on trial. He's telling he's stuck. He can't get out. And even with the way the video comes on, it comes into, I think that's Roman or Greek architecture when the video first comes on. So he's telling you that's where it stemmed from, because that was part of the Greek civilization. What they call it in English, they call it pedestrian, and that's basically an older man with a younger boy.
Yes.
And the boy was kind of like in a political field, from my studying, that was their apprentice. And you had to have a young boy with you as your apprentice in order to be in politics in Greece. And so that also gave way to what you see in the Star Wars films, where you always have a Padawan, as they say in the earlier, but you always had an older Jedi and a younger apprentice. And it goes back to Greece in a sense, because they wore the robes.
Yes, that Greco-Roman culture.
Right. So you can, and a lot of that stuff, imperialism, all that stuff is based upon, how the Romans and the Greeks did their thing. So you had, back then they had the Republic, and I forgot in the Senate.
Senate, yes.
Right. That's in Star Wars. So in America, it's the same thing.
Nothing new under the sun, sibling, as we don't know.
So when you see the color, I'm gonna jump back to Lil Nas. When you look at the color, you have those that work for the emperor. You had a bunch of white soldiers, and then you had a bunch of dark military guys too. And what you're looking at in the Star Wars is what is the Caucasian telling his story of him having battles with the Phoenician race, because that's the parent race that gave birth to the Caucasian. And the Hindu specifically, which are a branch of the Phoenician race, they all fall under the title Asian. And this is why white people are calling themselves Caucasian. It's not because they're from the Caucasus Mountain. That's just deception that was placed on purpose. I did many videos on that explains that they come from the Aegean Islands after a group of their ancestors, the priests and nuns, were ostracized out of the Gulf of Aden to the Asian islands, and that's where the Caucasian came from. And the first branch of them, which was the Jews, left the islands first, went to Europe for some time. Then they doubled back, went into Asia, then eventually came down into Africa through the Mediterranean and all that stuff. And they eventually set up shop, and I think in Egypt for like 700 years, and that was under the I forgot what dynasty, but they started gaining power around the 18th dynasty. So they started gaining power under the last three Thutmoses, Thutmose 1, 2, and 3. And Thutmose the third is the one that actually got the power enough to expel them, because I think they ruled Lower Egypt, and Thutmose was ruling Upper Egypt. And according to my information, that they was having a battle with Poppy. That was the pharaoh's name, a Caucasian pharaoh, and over a hippopotamus keeping them up at night. And so they wanted to kill it, but the ancient Egyptians, or the Kemites, well, they weren't Kemites, I'm sorry, the Phoenicians that invaded Egypt, or Kemet, after the 6th dynasty, that's a lot of them statues y'all see online, those real black pharaohs. A lot of them were not African. They were black, jet black, like our people, but they didn't have kinky hair. They had straight hair. So a lot of people don't understand that. So when you start talking about these dynasties, they say, yeah, the Egyptians was black, but which group you talking about?
Good point, sibling, because I always highlight the fact that throughout the dynastic period, that's when we started to get the influx of many different melanated people coming in and non-melanated people coming in and taking authority and throne. It was the pre-dynastic period where we had the full flourishing of the full melanites. So yeah, man, 100% co-sign that. Yeah.
Right. So that's really the biggest thing. So, but that's why we're gonna get into later on. So anyway, that's all you seeing with the whole with the Star Wars thing and the Phoenician. But yeah, that whole thing, the video is coming in. The sky is purple. That's a disrespect and a shot at Noopooh, because in our science, it teaches you that the sky was purple, and that the water was lilac, and the plants was a rusted color. I did a video on it called "A Purple Earth Theory," where the scientists confirm what Afro was saying in the nature books in the 90s, that the sky was purple over 18 million years ago. And so they're trying to make purple look evil, the same way they made Prince make that when he was doing 1999, the sky was all purple. You see what I'm saying? If you look into some of those old videos, they try to make purple evil, or they use the term like scarlet.
So what about the purple rain?
Right.
Was that a twisting of the thing, or was that a reference to the thing?
Yeah, the same thing is like I said, when you read Revelations and it talks about the whore or the harlot, they say she sat on a purple or scarlet beast. So scarlet is another type of word describing like a purplish type color. And it's also, but purple originally is a color of royalty. This is why you see the kings and queens, especially over in Britain and stuff, the crowns have the purple on it. But then it goes back into the Phoenician race, because Phoenician means purple. So the Caucasian comes from the Hindu, that comes from the Phoenician race. So they took that color because of being interacting with our race millions of years ago. We knew that the sky and stuff was different color than it is now. So it's about Noopooh and royalty and the stories our ancestors passed down, and they just took that. And Phoenician means purple, and they had a purple dye. If you read into the Bible, that's what the Phoenician race, black, like dark and black with straight hair. Those who they was mixed up with, called the Moors. The original Moors were us. If you just deal with the term it means, right? But the Phoenician race, mankind, was also under that term more, and they had purple ships and purple dye, and that's what that means. If you look in the Bible, Phoenicia, all that's dealing with that. So the Caucasian coming from them is also disrespecting them by saying that the great whore was sat on the scarlet. They're telling you their history without telling you. If it wasn't for Noon Science and stuff the works that Afro put out, I wouldn't be to connect the two. So that's really what that is. So anyway, so you got the sky is purple, right? And it's trying to make it appear scary. He's running, then he's sitting under a tree. What they did, he was sitting under the tree playing an instrument. And if you really look at what he's doing and how he's dressed, he's imitating the god Pan.
I was thinking the same thing, and they've placed that scenario within the visually the Garden of Eden, right?
In a sense, too. And again, it goes back to he's the person who put this video together knew what they were doing. He's too young. He doesn't know anything about that. You know, so he's just being used, and it's multi-layered. So you have the snake or the serpent, and again, these things, the serpent in the garden, we talking about because I did videos on it in the Gulf of Aden, right? The Tibetan monks, according to our story, which me and Anoop did and put the videos up on it, they gave, Afro said they gave the nuns Spanish fly, which caused the women to become more sexually active and aroused in the men, and they broke the laws of the sun god that we know was Amanubi Rakata, excuse me, and they called in the Hindus that the African king was ruling in Africa and Asia. Those priests and nuns was in Asia. They worship Amanubi as Manu, but Manu was also known, like I said, as Amanubi. It's different names what they say it, but he was known as the sun god of Africa, right? Was known as Brahma to them.
Okay.
All right, and he just had, again, if you was a king and you ruled major lands, our kings were being worshipped back then. The same way people worship great presidents and stuff today. Is just look at it from a political standpoint. But they also control pantheistic rites. It wasn't religion then. Religion is when they took all of the gods and compacted them into one. But back then, everything, those gods had positions. The same way a president and his cabinet has positions and administrators and all that. It's the same thing, just with you just had the king setting or the god king setting. And this is what they call theocracy, where they said that a pharaoh ruled by divine right.
Yes.
In blood, and that goes into incarnation and other stuff, which is true, right? So, but that's all you're dealing with. So now the snake is representing what the Tibetan monks, the Mongoloids did, who entered the garden through those herbs that made them break the laws of the sun god, and then they start having sex when they shouldn't have. It's set only out of necessity when they supposed, but they started overdoing it. And then they started practicing Hinduism and all this other stuff. And so the king...
before you get too far, break down in a little bit about Pan, because some people have heard the deity Pan, but they don't really know.
Okay, so Pan is the son of Hermes, and Hermes is Tahuti, Thoth, Didgehuti, and Kemet. I told you last time, these are the same gods. But because they create new languages when another race comes on the scene, the names change and they become more devious as the cycle and season calls for it. So Hermes, which is Tahuti or Thoth, is where the word hermaphrodite come from too. And in our sign, they teach that the Tahuti is a moon god, which is hermaphrodite. And hermaphrodite is male and female with both sex organs. So we talk about spiritually.
Yeah.
And so homosexuality and all that comes from that. So Tahuti's into that. That's why he has the beak, the ibis bird beak and Kemet. But if you know what the ibis bird beak does, the ibis bird cleans out his anus with this long with his nose. For those who don't know that, so what they do is get caught up in what they say Tahuti does as a spirit god who does do knowledge and write and all that stuff like that. But the animal is what you have to study to understand the nature of God.
Yes.
See, so because they don't understand that, they overlook. That's like, again, you can look at all of these. Like, you can look at Lil Nas, for instance. He would, if when they write about him, right, later they'll say, you know, he sold all these records. He did this, that, and the third. But if you looked at what he does in his videos, and a person who's looking at, okay, what's he showing besides breaking musical records? This is what we're doing. So I do the same thing with the deities, the male and female gods. And when you look at that, that's how you can tell what they were about. Like Bastet or Bastet, the cat god, even though that's where they get the cat woman from. Bastet had orgies in Kemet. But they don't talk about that.
I was just about to say they don't want to talk these things, sibling.
So they want to the hotel hustle, the black community likes to clean and make it look like all of these gods that we had were clean. They don't
romanticize the thing. They want to romanticize Earth.
Right. It's the same way our entertainers and leaders and stuff that they look clean on the outside, but we know that they go behind the scenes and do other things. It's the same process.
Yes.
Okay. And it's okay because human beings do the same thing. What do you think the gods don't do the same thing? The book tells you what? Know thyself. And the rest of that quote is, and you will know the nature of the gods. So that's a African saying. That's a Kemet saying. He said, know thyself, and you will know the nature of the God. So if you is in Kemet studying these teachings, and you like little boys, or you like to mess with the same sex, that's telling you the gods are like that. And when they was into these cults, they did this stuff.
Facts.
So the animal tells you a lot about it. So anyway, it's the same thing you're seeing now. It's just upgraded. You look for the pattern. So anyway, they ended up breaking the sun god laws, the sex laws, and was kicked out to the Asian islands, the black Hindus, priests and nuns. And when they started, and then Tahuti or the moon god hovered over the woman, the stomach or the womb, or the stomach of the women, and they were having twins. This is where the Bible gets this. Esau and Jacob was born in, I think, was it Sarah's womb? I think.
Sarah.
And yeah, and they were fighting each other. And see, I think Esau came out and Jacob was holding his
heel.
His heel, which we know that's impossible. Babies do not do this type
Come on, this is allegory, sibling. You know.
See? So they're telling you that there's a beef there. And the Hebrew Israelites don't realize that Esau is the Hindus and Jacob is the Caucasian. They think that Esau is the Caucasian race and they Jacob. No, it's neither. We ain't in that story. Esau is the Hindus and the Caucasian, which is Jacob, came out. And so when you're reading the stuff they're talking about, Israel this and Israel's love of God, that's Ghost God, and the moon god that brought the white race up to par. So you're reading about their greatness in the moon cycle within the last 5,000 years, but the Caucasian really didn't start rising until around a little bit over about 2,500 years ago. So even though they was given a 6,000 year point of ruling, they haven't been ruling for 6,000 years. Roughly 4. As far as struggling to come up. Okay. So anyway, that's what that represent. Then, you start seeing him, you see the hermaphrodite stuff in there because let me go back. So now Pan is the son of Hermes, Tahuti or Thoth. And that is not only just the god of music. Pan also is the god of pandemics. Okay. And panic. All right. So somebody got to get that. So by him being the god of medicine and music, that ties into Tahuti being the god of medicine. So Pan and Hermes works together because Tahuti sets Pan up as the god, the spirit god. These are spirits. And that means that Pan works in the music industry as well as the medical industry in the sense that he creates diseases and panic. You look this etymology up, it all runs back into that. And Pan job is to bring people to the medicine. And Tahuti is incarnated as Bill Gates, which I broke that down before.
The gates
So
of
these
hell.
gods are walking around possessing certain people, fulfilling the same thing they were doing back then.
So what do you think Little Nas X, the youngster, the little 21-year-old from Bankhead, was he? I'm sure he's from what, Bankhead, Atlanta?
I don't know where he's from.
Yeah, I'm sure I did a bit of a rudimentary build just before we got on. I'm sure it's
Yeah, I think,
Bankhead.
but I know that somebody hit my wife up and told her that wherever he's from, he wasn't doing all this gay stuff and all. He wasn't like that.
Well, this is the thing. He came up from again from the bottom. Then he came up under just a normal, so-called black household. I think it was he a single parent? I think it might have been a single parent household. No kind of catalog of any music prior to his explosion onto the scene, sibling, with that Old Town Road thing.
That's what put him in the game.
This is what I'm saying, and let's what his real name is Montero, right?
Okay.
And Montero was a top of the line Mitsubishi 4x4 thing back in the day, right? In the 90s.
I remember that name slightly, but you could be right. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like I heard that name.
Yeah. So let's make the connection. Let's make the connection even further of the golden era when there was someone, his daddy, I would say, his daddy in name wise only, Nas, aka Nasty Nas. He popularized that there, man.
Yeah, it was a Montero Jeep. Yeah,
yes.
A lot of the rappers used to use. I used to hear that now. Yeah, yeah, it's a Montero Jeep. It's a Jeep, a four-door Jeep.
This is the thing. So he's named after that. Nas himself used that a few times in a few bars. I think The World Is Yours, I think he used it on the Illmatic album.
And he used it a lot on Nostradamus too.
This is it, right? And then we fast forward, and then we've got a Little Nas X, whose real name is Montero. You see the correlations and shit, man. It's almost like he was prepared and created for this thing.
Well, that's what they do. When we get into the next segment of this, it's gonna give you the foundation, because Noon deals with origins, and this is what a lot of people don't know. So they'll end up doing the same thing over and over. The next rapper comes out, oh, it's satanic, but they're using religious terms,
yes,
to identify things where the word Satan is just a title, just like the word God. It's not a personal name. And what it does is, by you not knowing that, it keeps fueling an interest in Christianity in a sense that's not really making no sense, because a lot of things that they say is not there. It's because a lot, again, it goes into oral traditions and mythologies and Hellenistic Greece and the things that they will believe in certain cases. And then people just take that and they add it on and on. But all of them are groomed. What he went through is nothing new, right? So
who is this aimed at musically?
Well, I mean, it's aimed at our race, because that's who they're using. But specifically, the young ones, because
yes,
but it's not just the young ones. Kianoo, it teaches that if you educate a male, you educate a person. if you educate a female, you educate a family. So the female already been attacked since 1970, officially when they broke the family up.
Facts.
And then they only made it where she would only be able to have men that have to come and go. So she was basically turned into a prostitute on the government side, in the sense that she was getting paid. It's like being a cheating wife and a prostitute, because the government became her father and her husband. The men that was messing with her, we was the side dude, so we could go in there and chill. We was the side dude, John, or the trick that laid up a little bit, got a little something. But when Daddy came home or sent those people to check, we had to get up and run like we was cheating. But that was our woman. But they switched it.
Yes.
And over time, they brought in, the homosexual became the black woman's new girlfriend.
Best friend, the bestie.
Right, that became the best friend. So that was the second part of the phase to put the man and stuff in it. Then they started allowing the female to become more educated. And
let's add another one to that. Apart from the education level, it's the opportunity and access to the job market, which then puts another barrier, because the black males within the wilderness of North America, unless you've gone through that there, you ain't necessarily going to be earning no money like that or have a career. Right. You're just going to be having a job and just over broke.
Right, and that's what they did, and that's why they say, though the black woman is more educated, she's also more lonely, because she don't went so far in the corporate ladder. And the corporate ladder, the word corp or corporation had the same sound as corpse. So the further you go in it, the deader it becomes, because you going into the matrix. A corporation is like a business, is a machine. So it's nothing alive in there. Everything runs the way they want it to run. And she becomes unprotected in a lot of ways. So it's many layers. Then you had the regular gay guy. Next thing you know, you had then they start having the transvestite. That was when the transvestite was the homosexual that wanted to dress opposite. So now you had a gay man, but wanted to be a female. That was the transvestite, the switching up. Then you had the females dressing like men.
Yeah.
And eventually they started doing sex changes. And then the sex changes turned into, trans genderism later on. But they went from that, then they went to getting the operations. And then because they didn't really have no terms until really later on. So then they went from transvestite, then now you got sex changes, now you got transgender. And now ultimately, the ultimate goal is not just infeminizing the male or masculinizing the female. They passed that. And this is the problem I have with Umar and the rest of them, because they keep using that. That phase is gone. What they're ultimately doing is going into transhumanism, where they're merging humans with AI.
Yes, machine. Yep.
That's it. That's the ultimate goal. All that other stuff was a part of getting humans prepped by saying I wouldn't had plastic surgery, where they made that big with white women. So the fact that they saying plastic, and it's really plastic, is not even used in breast enhancement and reduction when they was getting their breasts done.
Yeah.
But they kept calling it misnomer plastic surgery. Why? So
excellent points.
So these things is just showing you they're taking out something, and but what they was putting in there was silicone. Silicone is not plastic.
Doesn't it derive from oil though? Doesn't silicone derive from an oil, or is it from silica?
I don't know. Let me look real quick. Let me see this. What is silicone made out of?
Silicon. According to Viking Extrusions, silicon is most often found as silica, an oxide of silicon, and also the main constituent part of sand.
It's sand.
Silicone is primarily made of silicon, but also includes oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon.
So it's mostly from the earth.
Yes.
So you putting dirt. You
Break
put
it
dirt in your
down.
breast. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you know, it's funny now because we can look back and see the foolishness.
Yeah.
All right. So that's where it started with the white woman in plastic surgery. And then now look what you got. Butt implants. Now they and butt enhancements, and they not even safe. And it's just so much mess that's going on. They injecting all types of stuff in themselves. But that's called the same way they say transgender is meaning I'm trans. Trans means to travel, to go from one state to the next. So you're transgendering, right? Then they had the white woman who was telling black folks that she was black until they exposed her. You know what I'm talking about?
Rachel Dolezal.
Right. Now you have transracial, right? Now you can go from being one race to another, lies, to now the ultimate is what? Transhumanism. So now they taking you like through the way the Matrix was set up and the Terminator, they taking you to the AI and bringing the AI to you, merging them, and eventually it's over. And it's a game that I'm playing now that goes into this heavy for the PS4 called Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh shit, that cyberpunk thing. Yeah.
Yo, it's that whole thing. Everybody got metal arms and have to get upgrades and implants. Oh, it's wild. If a lot of this stuff is there. So anyway, you got the snake coming down. He's the God pan. He's playing music. He get afraid. He's running and all this old stuff. And he runs into another person. He's playing himself with a third eye, right? Because now you're talking about Kundalini. People don't understand it. This is dealing with the chakras, and this is what Tahuti them is into. They into playing around with these energy points in human beings, and Kundalini is a sexual energy. So people don't know how that Kundalini energy goes out of whack if it's activated by outside force or you. That's why when you look at the Kundalini, it does this.
Yes, interweaves.
And it's what? And guess what? The medical symbol for Tahuti does what?
Interweaves.
I'm saying that the medical center of Tahuti or in the medical industry is the same thing.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Right? And so they don't understand their code.
Isn't that term? Isn't the caduceus?
Right, the caduceus, all of that stuff. It's all part of the medical industry. And that the real symbol that they use in the medicine industry, or the symbol that the caduceus, is not what you see in the medical field. So it's just, I forgot the name of it at this point, but they got different versions of it. But all of this stuff goes back to sex. And that's what happens. And it starts from the base of the spine. And we know that they into all types of deviant sex. These people get possessed, and after they get activated, and they go up through all these rituals. So then he meets the himself, which look like some kind of alien with a third eye, and he looks male and female. So now you're looking at the transgenderism and all this little stuff that they trying to create. Then he falls back. He's rubbing on him. Then he licks on him. And then it goes to the next thing. So now he's telling you what he went through. He's showing you his initiation rites, is what he's telling you. And then eventually it goes to him doing this ride down the pole down to hell. And this is after he goes on trial. He's standing there, got all these chains, and he's telling you that he can't get out, and something about a rival, and he want to have sex with his rivals.
This is deviant as hell, sibling.
Right. And then he goes down to hell, and then that's himself down there, because he's telling you his evil self. He done went lower. See, they try to make you think that they making the chakras or the energy rise up. No, they're actually going down. And this is why you see them doing that. All of the videos show you, if you watch them enough, which a lot of people have. There's too many videos out there on YouTube and other places that breaks these things down. He goes down there and he keeps saying, call me by your name. But we know that that whatever name or whatever entity he's referring to, or whoever his handler is, that's who he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what these images represent, and it's demonic, it's evil, it's sexual, all of that. And then he kills himself, meaning he's telling him he killed the old him, and it's a new person now. Because because if you look at his other videos, it's a lot of them is him doing AI. A lot of these characters been killed already and been cloned, and they're using them. Because I remember Tequila, who was on a show way back with Flavor of Love. Remember, she went into there and bugged out and was saying they had cloning facilities and all of those stuff like that. So a lot of these people you're looking at, the original person is not there. They killed them and got them sitting on ice and just keep cloning from them. But if you look at his old videos, they all robot and stuff like that, which is gonna bring me to my next point. Because when I was watching this,
before you go to your next point, because you've got people, and when you look at some of the photographs, it does look quite different. Like Gucci Mane.
Yeah, they said about a Gucci. There's a lot of them.
Pre-prison and post-prison look very different. And obviously, you know, you're eating prison food, etc., and you're exercising on all them thing there. But why is this lisp? I remember he used to always talk with a lisp and all that.
Yeah, they said the same thing with Kodak Black. All of them. They not the same. Same thing with your boy that just got out over here in Brooklyn.
Oh my, shit, I know you're talking about. I can't think of his name. I don't. Shit, what's his name again? And
I'm gonna tell you what his name is. Bobby Shmurda.
Yeah, Shmurda. Yes.
So his homeboy got out before him, and he had this skull with an eye missing. All that stuff, these skulls, all this stuff is part of the occult, and it goes back to Osiris. So he done took the deal. Bobby Shmurda gonna take the deal. So just wait till he starts saying his project. So they all have to be made to come out showing that they took the deal. So you're gonna see something crazy, and people don't get it. Same thing with Ice Cube when he did the Predator album. He was smoking and had the skull of Osiris in front of it.
Oh shit! I didn't even think of that. That was a dope album, as well, that Predator. Yeah.
So yeah, if you know how to interpret symbolism, you'll be able to see that they all do it. All of them don't take the I'm gonna do the gay route or playing around with it. You know, same thing with Jay-Z. He when Ace to the Izzo, the Hova joint, he had when he was riding in the back of the car, he had one of those football signs where he had a big hand.
Yeah.
He had one that was doing this. So it's always been there, even before he got up to run this town with Kanye and Rihanna. And that was based off of an occult movie called Cobra that Stallone did.
Yes, in 1986, wasn't it?
Something like that, right? Yeah. And it was a cult group going around murdering people and doing rituals.
Yes, yeah. And you see them times in the 80s and shit, there was pure them films. Remember The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy?
Yeah, same occult stuff. And that was a girl. You knew that?
That little boy, yeah. Yes. I found out later. I found out late. I was literally sibling. I found that out probably maybe a year ago. And I was like, well, why the fuck would they do that?
But this is all about then they were trying to get a baby, the child porridge, it had blood in it.
Blood in it, yes, See, to taint the spirit.
That whole thing was a cult. The whole thing was a cult. Everything was occultish. But it ties back into the Tibet monks, which now is coming out in real time, that Tibet and those monks they selling drugs and guns and all that, and the pedophilia gonna come out too. I found out the Dalai Lama, back in the 60s, was a slave owner. He owned slaves.
Check out.
So the same thing they found out about Gandhi was a racist.
It's a racist piece of shit, yes, indeed.
So all of these things that people are idolizing, the negative forces of nature brought that in so people can...
Hey, sibling, let's let's not also forget we can't. He was a racist piece of shit, and also wasn't he messing around with young girls.
Yes, and he said he had a fetish of enemas. He like to give enemas to young women, and he like to get them too. He like that. That's basically, you know, OCD in the booty hole. Like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
wrong
yeah,
with you?
yeah.
But they
Jeez.
same thing with Mother Teresa is coming out there. She was into sex trafficking with
Oh
kids.
shit! Yes, yes. And look how in the 80s and shit, how she was everywhere. Yo, Mother Teresa this and Mother Teresa that.
And they said all of the money they gave her, most of it went to the Vatican. It did not go to the people she was so-called helping. A lot of places was still tore up from the floor after giving this witch billions of dollars, and she turned it over to the Vatican. So all you're doing, again, we're gonna get into this stuff in the next segment.
Yeah.
Now, after you see Lil Nas do all of that, once everything was said and done, like I said, that him killing his self that means that's somebody else. That's not him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you seen the demonic, the way he had his hair made.
Yes.
Right? Similar to the Baphomet, whatever.
Exactly.
Now, once that was done, I immediately had a flashback. I said, I've seen this before.
Isn't that rock video thing in it?
There
was a rock video that I watched someone do a breakdown of, and it looked almost exactly the same. It was like, it wasn't Insane Clown Posse, was fuck. What's those rocky rock rap kind of people? And the is it Blink 181 or some shit? I don't know. Someone kind of popular like that. They did a video very, very, very similar, and they've come out and said, "Well, look." Well, the directors came out and said, "Well, look, yeah, it does look remarkably similar to the video that I done, but art is subjectional, and artistic flair can just run very wild. So they may have had the same idea of me and borrowed certain elements, but yeah, man, of a recent video, so I would say this video is no more than a year to 2 years old.
If you farther, just send it to me. But I went, me, I went further back, and as I was watching it, I said, I know two artists that was doing the same type of imagery and all this extra. Again, you talking about, if you look at his other videos, they AI and robots and all this stuff. So the first person I thought of was Busta Rhymes.
I knew he was gonna say that. And Janet Jackson, right?
Right. But that was the AI part. But the other video that was demonic was Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See.
Oh shit! Yes.
So when you watch that video, you will see Busta with all the red on. He had his hair a certain kind of way when he first woke up doing the Coming to America skit. His hair was like that. Then as the video started changing and it started getting more and more demonic. And so you can see all of that, the same dark background, black, red. That was the same way. That was Busta's way of showing you he took the deal. Same way Missy Elliott Get Your Freak On video.
Yeah.
And she was using a movie that J-Lo had done where she was some type of cop. And they had this guy who was a killer who had kidnapped some people, and they wanted to know where they were. So they tried some type of new
the Bone Collector you're talking about? Bone Collector. Did that film?
You sure? Was that? Let me see. Was the Bone? I don't think so. I think that was Queen Latifah. Jennifer Lopez movies. But it was and they had it where they put him in some type of sleep, and she had to lay down on another bed across and go into his mind.
Yes. Oh shit. No, that wasn't Bone Collector. That's too early, I think.
Yeah, I think that was Queen Latifah was in that movie. And let me see if I can find it real quick.
That's the maddest. Whilst you're looking at that there, I'm thinking, you know what comes to mind?
The Cell. That's the name of it.
Oh shit. Yeah. I don't think I've watched that too many times still. Yeah. I know you're talking about. I see it.
So if you go and watch that, then go look at Missy Ellis Get Your Freak On. It was based off of this. And if you look at the craziness of the video, people hanging from the ceiling like they was underground, like roots, and it was white and dark, and all of that. The same in that whole robot moving type stuff. All of that is where Lil Nas is coming from that. And it's a lot of different artists do these things. But again, we basically being taught occultism in the form of entertainment.
Yes. To
The
the uninitiated. The uninitiated are getting the lessons, and we don't know what lessons. Well, they're not getting the lessons with, understanding, or overstanding what the lessons are being taught. It's
right,
art and
equal
entertainment.
Standing. I use the word equal standing because equal standing means we're both on the same plateau of and we both understand the information that we're saying. That's what I coined that term a couple of years ago. I use equal standing.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna add that to the vocab, sibling. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's what's up. Let me see. So when you look into that, he's basically telling you he's gone. They want to make it about the children, of course, because the industry runs off of sex trafficking. The universe itself, the most two powerful forces in the universe is mind and sex. And since we're in the bottom half of existence, sex rules, and that's the power and motivator and activator of things in existence. When Noopooh is ruling, there's no sex, and mind is the activator and motivator. But since Noopooh came back in 1926, born in the Mount Afro-Uno, they made themselves known to him when he was 36 in the year 1962. Then they start being born everywhere in the mind of African people. So now that's pure intelligence. But Noopooh is still growing. But Zoopooh is hitting its growth maturity stage. After the cataclysm, the great cataclysm, a few years from now, then Zoopooh will start going into its old age. So right now, the mind we're using Noopooh, meaning mind power or nine power, is to utilize the information and knowing how to use our power of sex to manifest what we should have. I wrote a book on it on my on Fine Nine News on how to utilize your personal sex. Whereas Zoopooh teaches you how to use other people's sex and deviant sex. To catapult you into all these things that you see. This is why when they go into these industry, the first thing they're introduced to is death, drugs, sex, snuff sex, all this stuff, and then they film them and blackmail them, and then they put them out. They got to do what they got to do, and people don't understand that.
Aleister Crowley, sex magic fuckery,
right? And that's their corrupt version of it. But he was utilizing his sex in his magic, and he was having sex with women and animals. But he was utilizing his own versus in other occult practices. They do the same thing, but then they can do a group thing. So you may have a group sex, say orgy, like they did in the third Matrix, I think. Was that in the third one or the second Matrix?
It must have been the third.
It's the second one. The second one. When Neo and them came back and they went underground, because that's the second was when
they all blend into one, man. After one, and what I watched 2 and 3, they all kind of blend into one to me, man. I can't really.
Yeah, the first one was very different because that came from the script of Sophia
Stewart, indeed, and the mother of the Matrix.
Right, the black woman. 2 and 3 was warped. They start taking it somewhere else. But yeah, I think in part 2, in the beginning, after Neo comes back, that's when you see them part and they start having sex. There's a big orgy scene in the Matrix, and they start dancing in slow motion. I don't know if you remember that.
Nah.
They go back to Zion, and everybody went home for a minute. And I think it happened after Neo and his girl went to talk
Trinity.
and all that, and they just start dancing and stuff. Then they start going slow, and then you start people, taking their shirts off and all that. Again,
I'll have to go back and peep that. I have to go peep that. That's not finding familiar to me at all. But it's been a while, man. It's been a while since I was in that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it is. So they taking group sex and they're channeling it, and it's also it goes into what are you thinking about, which is intention.
Intention.
You have to have an intention.
Yes.
And before you do it, and by the time you ejaculate,
it's that. Then
it'll manifest. It'll go into that whatever you're trying to do. And this is why all of these great entertainers and political people, whenever they get exposed, sex is always there.
Definitely.
Because that is the number one power.
That's the currency. That's the currency right here, right now.
Right. It's sex is the energy, and people don't understand it, and except those who mess with magic and deep occultism. But it's because it again, all of our ancient societies dealt with that. It would just when you're looking from this point, we're so disconnected, and a lot of stuff been hidden from us. So we've been made to venerate these gods and stuff, not knowing that they was engaging in these things. I can't tell you who, because that type of information I don't have, but I know that just off of the research that all of the gods and goddesses was doing this stuff. Even all the way into Samaria, and Ishtar was really...
Yes, we know about Ishtar.
Ishtar was not a female. Ishtar was Tahuti. Tahuti was moonlighting as a female in Sumer. So that whole transgender stuff with Ishtar and incest and having sex with her husband and then her son, all this old crap that's going on, and they saying Ishtar and is the same as Isis, and Isis was marrying her brother Osiris. You see the incest.
Yeah.
So y'all want to overlook these things?
Apparently, sibling. Apparently.
So these are the issues that we're having. So people don't get that, and that's a problem. And so, like I said, once you get past all of that, if you look into the videos, you will see it.
You'll see the deeper
all of these people we looking at today doing the same thing. All of the, so I mentioned Ice Cube and the Predator, and I think he had another with the War CD was like a double disc.
Oh yeah, War and Peace in it. Yes.
Side his face with the eye showing. They telling you, all of them artists do that.
It's so fucking
War CD. It was a double disc.
Yeah, double disc. I remember it.
Magic hat.
Yeah.
That the guys that practice voodoo down in New Orleans. The
top hats.
Ran with the top hats, and I can't think of the moon god name down there, but it's there. Why is he dressing like that?
And with the top hat now.
With the top hat.
Now remember what there's a phrase, the Mad Hatter.
Right.
Or Mad as a Hatter. That comes from when those hats were made back in the day. There was what did they used to press it with to give it the shape? Was it with some kind of noxious substance was it mercury? I think there was mercury in them damn hats.
Okay. I don't know. You telling me something.
Yeah, man. So that's what was turning people fucking loopy, man, was the motherfucking hats that they were wearing, and hence we get the term Mad Hatter.
Again, but look what you said they put in it. Mercury. That's another name of Tahuti. Mercury. The god of commerce, and he's a thief.
This is the thing. Hey, listen, sibling. We're gonna end this build and jump onto the continuation. Right, I'm gonna finish this off with Albert Pike, an Albert Pike quote, which I think encapsulates all of this here. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a great social cataclysm, which is in all the horror and the show, clearly to all the nations in effect of absolute atheism, the origins of savagery and the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the people will be forced to defend themselves against the world minority of the world, revolutionaries, and they will exterminate, sorry, those destroyers of civilization and the multitudes and disillusioned with Christianity, whose spirits will be from the moment without direction and leadership and anxious for an ideal, but without knowledge, keyword knowledge,
Mhm.
where to send its adoration will will receive the true light through a universal manifestation of a pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out into a public view, a manifestation which will result from general reactionary movements, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. That ties in everything we've just built on. You know what I mean?
Only thing he was incorrect about is you can't destroy a religion. Noon states, because number one, religion came out of pantheism, and religion is the last stage of science as far as spirituality goes.
Hmm.
And what has to happen is Noon has to be drafted back into all these religions and brought up to date and revolve them back into Noon. So that is just them working with the laws of the opposite to an extent, because atheism was brought out to make people believe in a God. So if you say I'm atheist,
Hmm.
that means you say I don't believe in a God. But if you saying I'm anti, it means you at once believed.
Yeah.
So you setting yourself up by claiming versus saying, well, there's no proof that there's a God. So me saying I'm it's like saying I'm anti-white supremacist. But if I don't believe in white supremacy, then why am I saying I'm anti? So these are some of the trick things that they play. But
Yes.
Christianity is its other occult form is Gnosticism. Just like Judaism, occult side is the Kabbalah,
The Kabbalah.
and Islam's occult side is Sufism. So and Judaism comes out of Hinduism. So all of that stuff comes from one another because the Phoenicians branch of people is the Arabs. And so they all come from the same thing. So Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity are all watered down versions of Hinduism. So you can't destroy that. But like I said, they don't just I'm still but I get the gist of the matter
Yeah.
what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
Regardless.
And look, and let's put a capstone and really drive home that for people
Mhm.
who may have heard of Albert Pike but may have not know too much about him. We're talking in 1830s. This
Mhm.
dude was around.
Mhm.
Allegedly a 33-degree Mason. They got a statue of this dude in Washington D.C. Highly revered. He's read a plethora of books. One of the most talked about books is Moral and Dogma.
Yep.
I'm not suggesting anyone purchase the damn thing, but study to show thyself approved, man, and try and piece together some of these signs and symbols and sounds which are being projected across the airwaves, hyped up by media, to provoke responses from the populi.
Mm-hmm.
So study to show thyself approved. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, and share.